President Biden is set to speak with China's leader on Thursday, and this comes amid growing tensions as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi considers a visit to Taiwan. Now, the talk between the two leaders has been long in the works. White House officials say it's part of a series of regular check-ins, but there is a sense of urgency right now as Beijing warns of, quote, forceful measures should House Speaker Nancy Pelosi set foot on Taiwan as planned. So let's bring in Leland Vittert now. He's the host of On Balance. You can see him every afternoon. And Leland, President Biden is going to speak with Xi Jinping tomorrow. There are some growing tensions here. That's also heightened by reports that, like we said, forceful measures. I don't think I've ever heard a foreign country threaten an American leader or threaten potential consequences for an American leader should she visit a different part of the country. I find that very interesting. So what do you make of all that right now?
Well, exactly. Right. And that is that who decides where members of the American government, and for that matter, a constitutional officer in the line of succession to the presidency, can and cannot go. If Speaker Pelosi goes to Taiwan, the Chinese view it as a real slap in their face and sort of a challenge to their leadership, which, by the way, is the reason that she should go. And if she doesn't go and we back down, that says pretty much all that the world needs to know about who decides what America does and does not do. So we are at a very critical crossroads. Ambassador Bolton was on the program last night, and one of his main points is that the Biden administration has to decide what is more important to them, American national security or some promise from the Chinese about climate change, because the Chinese are experts in extracting something that the United States needs and has that is important, which is our preeminence around the world, in exchange for something that the current administration wants, or any administration wants, which is a piece of paper saying that the Chinese are going to eliminate some amount of carbon emissions sometimes in the future. And that's really what this is going to come down to, whether or not President Biden is willing to tell Xi Jinping to go pound sand, or whether or not he caves.
Leland, I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but this reminds me of a benches clearing brawl when the bullpens also run out, but instead of fighting each other like you would think people that want to fight do, they just run out parallel to each other and then they never get involved. Is this conflict over whether or not Nancy Pelosi is going to visit or not, and you came through our waters, we own these waters, is this just posturing, or do these two sides, the United States and China, is there actually any potential for violence here? Because it sounds like you're saying we should call China out, call China's bluff. But there could be consequences, and it sounds like you don't believe that, though.
Of course there could be consequences. That's why you do it, because if you don't, then the consequences will be larger the next time. To use your opinion about, to use your analogy about the bench clearing run out of the dugouts, if a pitcher keeps hitting your team's players over and over and over and over again, and you never come out of the dugout, if everybody goes, well, we're just going to stand there and posture anyway, so it doesn't really matter, then it keeps happening. And then eventually somebody gets really hurt. If the first time somebody hits your player, everybody runs out and shows the other side that they're ready to fight, then maybe next time the pitcher doesn't hit your player. So that tends to be the issue here with the Chinese, which is that they're bullies. And they're no different than the bully at a schoolyard, or in the sandbox, or in college, or in the workplace, or anywhere else. But the price to confront that bully for every administration becomes higher as the administration gets older.
I see. Now, President Biden is also facing some growing pressure to roll back tariffs on Chinese goods, too. But that could also be seen as giving in and giving Beijing a win here. So would it have any effect on inflation? Would there be any benefit to rolling back Chinese tariffs?
These are the Trump era tariffs that actually were pretty effective in getting China to heal and getting some meaningful concessions and getting them to back down on some issues, because they do understand economic warfare and real warfare is almost one and the same, because China Inc. And the Communist Party are merged. So would it have much to do with inflation? No. It's kind of a red herring, because the relative amount of cost of goods that are sold in the United States that are subject to tariffs from the Chinese in this sense are pretty small. Would it once again be seen by the Chinese as giving up something for nothing? yes, the problem is that the Chinese are always willing to agree to things that they have absolutely no intention of following through on. And the United States doesn't really operate that way. And in administration after administration, this isn't partisan, has been taken advantage of by that very principle by the Chinese.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.